Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of BattleTech. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you chose to join me today here in our ship. We're in what's called Vic's Marauders. Or, no, wait a minute, I thought that was the name of the ship. It's not, it's just the Marauders. We're the Marauders, and they're all Vics. So, yeah, we have... Oh. What? Out of action? Oh, those are the reports. Okay, let's manage tasks. No Mech Tech tasks scheduled. Okay, what about the timeline? Can't do anything. So let's learn about this thing. So we can unpause the time. We can... we have a store? Oh. Oh, we have the equipment. Oh, no. Oh, I'm gonna spend so much time. And we have the hiring hall, which I probably will either need to wait. We have our money situation here, or I just need to hire. They're... yeah, well, it's actually...
Receiving you.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, so we're gonna need to repair our mechs. Oh, there they are. Oh, I can't rotate. Oh, this would be so cool if I could rotate. Just go around a little bit and all that. Can't click anything. So we got Bays and Yang. So that's I suppose I just click there. Can I do that?
Need something?
Hey, Young. Hey, boss. Welcome to the Mack Bay. My own little piece of heaven right here on the ship. Something I can help you with? Yeah, I want an assessment on the Leopard. How much trouble are we in? The Leopard? Is it the next mission? Might be. No, I mean, yeah, we're doing okay for a moment, but give it a few months, maybe a year. You know how it goes. Eventually, everything falls apart. Oh, it might be the ship that we're in. Maybe our drive system will give out. Maybe some debris will perforate the hull. Who knows? But on that day, we're gonna need to be able to cover our repair costs. And if we can't, well, that'll be that. Yeah, I suppose. I got a few questions about the Mack Bay. Yeah? Then hit me with them. I'll do what I can to answer. I mean, I don't want to wax poetic or nothing, but the Mack Bay is where the magic happens, boss. It's the beating heart of the mercenary outfit. It is indeed. Anything I should know about the Mack Bays themselves? Beyond each cubicle holding one mech battle, or battle mech, sorry, not much. It's all about capacity. The more mech bays we have, the more mechs we can keep battle ready. The more mechs we have battle ready, the more flexibility you have in your deployment options. Let's say we had two blackjacks, for example. A decent medium mech for sure. I know your family gave you yours. One could be loaded out with lots of energy weapons for use in colder environments where they can bleed heat quickly. The other identical blackjack could be loaded out with ballistic weapons that require ammo but generate much less heat, smart for deploying in warmer climates or in vacuum where heat dissipation is slower. That's okay. So why use mech storage then? Well, a few reasons. First, we have limited capacity in the Mack Bay, so we need to store the overstock for eventual sale or for use in the future. Second, we don't pay upkeep costs on mechs in storage. That's a business thing, though, not my department. Third, and this is important, whenever we pick up partial mech salvage from the battlefield, I put it in storage for you. Oh, that's really good then. If we gather our buy enough partial mech salvage to complete a battle mech chassis, my team will assemble it right away. You'll let me know if we want to keep it in storage or have it ready for combat. Battle mechs are expensive as hell, so assembling one out of salvage is our best bet for expanding our roster. Yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. What happens when a mech goes into or gets readied from storage? Well, when you send a mech chassis into storage, our Mech Techs dismount all its weapons and equipment and place them in your inventory for use on the other chassis. A chassis, I sometimes say chassis, whatever. A chassis can stay in storage indefinitely, and don't worry about storage capacity, boss. I'll make it fit, don't worry about it. Now, getting a stored battle mech ready for a combat drop is a different animal. My techs will need a couple of days to bring an empty chassis up from storage. Once the chassis is back in the Mack Bay, you'll need to select its loadout from our equipment inventory so we can start a refit. The time and cost of a refit is dependent on the type and amount of equipment you choose. That's so cool that you have to take all that into account. That is so cool. That is so awesome. So I've been wondering about the components you can put on our mechs. Yeah, one of my favorite topics. In the Mack Bay, you can browse all the equipment we have available in the inventory. There are two types of components I can install on a battle mech: weapons and equipment. Okay, tell me about ballistic weapons. I think I know a lot about this already, but still, let's go with this. Ballistic weapons such as the autocannon pack Good Punch generate little heat and can destabilize an enemy if they hit it enough. But ballistic weapons are, you know, ballistic, so they require ammo. And ammo can explode if it takes a hit in combat, which is bad news all around. Ballistic weapons are also pretty heavy and can take up a lot of space on a mech. Strengths and weaknesses, boss. Strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, what about energy? Energy weapons don't use any ammo, but they generate a lot of heat. You may need to invest in additional heat sinks. Keep your mech cool if you choose energy-heavy loadout. Since they're intense beams of coherent light, energy weapons are great for cutting things up. They aren't much good at destabilizing an enemy. The particle projected cannon is the one big exception to that rule, and that might be why I like it so much. In addition to the massive damage it can inflict, a hit on a PPC or a hit from a PPC can destabilize an enemy, maybe even slow it down a bit. The PPC generates a metric shit ton of heat, but it's worth it, boss. And if it wasn't enough, it has a mild EM punch that strengthens with the enemy's targeting systems. Or that screws with the enemy's targeting systems. That's pretty cool, actually. I remember just equipping 2 of them, and that's that. That's all my loadout. And even then, I had a lot of trouble. Of course, even then, I had a lot of trouble dissipating heat. Although in MechWarrior, you couldn't really add heat sinks. I don't remember. It had the normal heat capacity of each chassis. What about missile weapons? Well, missile weapons are my favorite. Yeah, they require ammo and generate moderate heat, but yeah, the pounding they deliver can destabilize an enemy faster than most other weapons. And having multiple projectiles in a shot means you're almost always guaranteed at least a single hit. Long-range missiles are also capable of indirect fire. If one of your units has line of sight on an enemy, it can act as a spotter for LRM-equipped units that don't. With a spotter, a mech equipped with LRMs can stay behind cover and arc its missiles to hit the enemy. A spotter can increase your launcher's effective range too. Granted, the enemy can do the same to you, but well, that's someone else's problem. Yep. That's why you need a spotter. I don't want to sell short-range missiles short, though. They can generate incredible impact, and they do great damage. But, you know, you've got to be within knife fight range to use them. Yeah, they're pretty good, actually. If we had some of them, which I don't think we had, we were firing long-range missiles on a previous battle. If we had some of them, we would have been much better off against that big guy. What about support weapons? Oh, I don't know these ones. Support weapons are lighter than the others. Small lasers, machine guns. Oh, right. Oh, machine guns are fun to use on MechWarrior. That kind of thing. I programmed our targeting computers to automatically fire them after a melee attack if they are activated. Yeah, I've seen commanders order refits that remove most conventional weapons to double down on support weapons. With the right melee enhancing components, you can field monsters capable of point-blank devastation. Yeah, and in a turn-based combat, that is actually pretty good. Actually, in real time, it's also pretty good, because if you can avoid the first hit, the time it takes for enemies to recharge, to get back everything, all the things, it's pretty good. So tell me about other types of equipment you can refit on a mech, or it can fit. That's a big list, boss. I suggest you check the store in every system we travel to. You never know what you'll find. I can install stronger cockpits to reduce the injuries our MechWarriors will take, arm actuators that increase melee damage, range finders that increase the range at which enemies can be visually acquired. Yeah, that's target acquisition. All sorts of stuff. All take up critical slots on a battle mech, so some add weight too. Keep your eyes open for them and give them a good once-over before you buy one, so you know what you're getting into. Now, putting powerful weapons and equipment on your mechs is fine and all, but remember, the trade-offs is always armor. You know how they say the best defense is a strong offense? Yeah, they aren't on the battlefield. Don't skimp on the armor, boss, or all that expensive equipment will get reduced to junk in the enemy's first salvo. That's very true. See how you know all the things? I heard that some manufacturers have developed better versions of some weapons. That's also a thing in this game. I remember that being a thing in other games. True that. Different manufacturers tweak their weapons to deliver more damage, have higher accuracy, destabilize the enemy, a bunch of stuff. The trick is finding them. They're rare out there, out here in the periphery, so when I see one in a store or salvage pile, I'll always mark it with a plus for you, so you can identify it easily. Oh, thank you very much. That's very nice. Okay, let me ask you something else. Oh, I didn't read the last thing that he said. I'm just used to him saying, oh, that's bad. I can go back there, though. Can go back there and read that last line. I'm used to that line right there being just the you know, sort of, what else can I do for you? And some equipment is rarer than others. So the more plus symbols I mark on them, or the rarer and more useful they are. Keep your eyes peeled. You never know what you're gonna find. Yep. I'm not really sure how I'm gonna run this thing. Being a blind playthrough, it's completely impossible for me to just know that, like, should I focus on a single loadout for a single mech? Should I have like a lot of armor early on? Should I have a lot of weapons early on? Are they gonna pay off? All that sort of stuff. And also how to bring down mechs, because you can salvage their weaponry without destroying their armor. That's one of the reasons why I probably want to have a lot of short-range missiles, because they do a lot of damage and destroy everything. They're good against certain enemies, but when you're fighting like the big tough ones, clinical damage probably better. But I don't know how the game works. Even with lasers, you might be able to tear off their stuff, and I don't know how that goes. How do I repair mech damage after a battle? Let's go with that, because we need to do that. Whenever you return from a mission, stop by the Mack Bay here to tell me which mechs you want to have repaired. I'm gonna assume anything. You run this outfit, so tell me. I'm not gonna assume anything, he says. So tell me what to spend time on and money on. Thank you very much. That's a proper employee right there, I guess. Okay, that's not completely true. If I see armor missing from a battle mech, I'm gonna repair it automatically. It's standard operating procedure, and we have so much scrap armor lying around that you should consider armor repairs to be free. Now, if you tell me to repair a mech containing destroyed equipment, the techs will strip that off automatically too. I'll list the equipment they stripped, but you're gonna want to replace it with something. Anyway, like I was saying, armor repairs are free. Internal structure, on the other hand, takes time and C-bills to fix. If a mech's structure is damaged or missing, I'll flag it for you in orange. Just order the repair, confirm the time and cost, and I'll get it into our work queue. Okay, thank you very much. What if I want to change the mech's loadout? Can I refit it with new weapons and equipment? Because I will be doing that. Oh, now you're talking, boss. You bet you can refit a mech. You can repair it at the same time too. Just select a battle mech and order the refit. That'll bring up the Mech Lab. Yep. Then that'll bring it to the Mech Lab. Okay. What can I do in the Mech Lab? The Mech Lab is where you let me know what sorts of modifications you want to make to our stable of battle mechs. I can install new weapons and equipment, add or remove armor location by location, pretty much anything you want. All it takes is time and money. I've got plenty of both, right? Yeah, right. Are there limits on how I can refit a mech? That's hardware, Vic. Of course there are limits. Your biggest constraints are the chassis' weight and its hardpoints, I guess. Wait a minute. It's hardpoints? What was that? Oh, I know what those are. Yeah, each location on a battle mech contains one or more weapon mounts called hardpoints. Hardpoints are only are only designed for one specific weapon type: ballistic, energy, missile, and support. However, most mechs contain locations with more than one hardpoint, so you have some flexibility in what you mount there. Oh, that's okay. I remember that. So I can't make a mech as heavy as I want. Negative. A mech's chassis can support only so much tonnage in weapons, armor, and equipment, so you need to keep its overall weight in mind when designing a battle mech's loadout. If your design is over a chassis' weight rating, we can't accept the work order. Now, there are ways of making things fit, of course. Trade-offs can be made, but you've got to be careful. We have the ability to remove armor from individual locations in order to squeeze more or bigger weapons on, but less armor is, less armor. We don't want to wind up with something that'll blow over in a strong breeze. Trust me on that. I've seen it happen often enough to know. Okay, so let's go back and ask you another question. How do I know what a mech is good at in the first place? Ooh, very important question. Great question. Yeah, indeed. There are a lot of different battle mechs out there, and it's hard to know what they are built to do best just by looking at them. I mean, I can, of course, but not me. You, on the other hand, are gonna need some help. Thankfully, I'm a helpful guy. If you check your technical readouts in the Mech Lab, you'll find that I've included some thoughts about each mech's off-the-rack purpose, or stock role. They're only opinions, mind you, but you can find them useful. I've also provided access to an itemized list of the equipment that a mech normally carries when you buy it as stock. Think of it as a mech basic recipe. Okay, that's pretty cool, actually. What happens after I order a refit? Once you confirm your orc order, it'll be placed in a queue with other repairs and refits on your timeline. Remember, a mech will be unavailable for combat until its work order is complete, so plan your refits carefully. I suggest queuing them up before we head to the next system to use our travel time efficiently. Yeah, I expected that. If you want to change a mech's placement in the work queue, select Manage Tasks under the timeline to reprioritize or cancel work orders. Okay, that's really nice. How long do repairs and refits normally take? And see how bad off we are because of what happened last episode. Oh, it depends on the Mack Bay conditions you're working in. A good Mack Bay with advanced scaffolding and equipment is faster than one you'll find in on a standard Leopard. So that's the name of the ship there, yeah. I display our Mack Bay's efficiency in Mech Tech points on your travel display under the finances and crew morale readouts. The higher the rating, the faster the repairs. Crew morale. Okay, I'm buying boosts for everyone every day. Ooh, he's got a cyber arm. Oh, that's so cool. I mean, is that on purpose or did you lose your arm? Because I don't know if it might be insensitive of me. I'm sorry, I don't know this setting. Anyway, you seem to know your way around a battlefield, Yang. Any advice? Sure. The better you lead in combat, the less work I have to do when it's over. Okay, let's talk heat. Yeah, let's talk about it. I can't emphasize this enough. Watch your heat. Your MechWarriors are sitting on a walking fusion reactors out there. Are you talking literally? Is that what they are? Because that's pretty cool if that's the case. Using jump jets and firing weapons generates heat. Sometimes lots of it. If one of your mechs gets too hot, you could do damage to its internal structure, or worse, shut down the engine in the middle of combat, leaving it a sticking duck. Yeah, I know that all too well. It usually isn't that big of a deal if you have a team around you, but it can be very bad. So how can I affect heat in combat? Well, sink, just go into water or something, because we did that. Each weapon system on a battle mech can be toggled on or off each time it takes action. Most mech warriors keep their heat low by toggling off weapons with lower chances to hit. But sometimes you'll have a solid chance to hit with everything in your arsenal. That's when you've got to experiment by toggling a few off to make sure you stay below the red line. Yeah, I just need to know what each weapon... I need to know the weapons a little bit. It's fine. It's a thing we can learn about. So, oh, and watch the terrain. Moving your mechs into water or over ice helps cool them down too. Yeah, so how can I make a mech more heat efficient? Note your mech's heat rating in the Mech Lab and install more heat sinks if you find that it runs hot in combat. Heat sinks vent plasma from the mech's engine and do a lot to dissipate the buildup from jump jets and weapon fire. Heat sinks are your friend. You can also always change the weapons on the mech to use more heat-friendly parts, but obviously that'll change how you use that mech in combat. Trade-offs, boss. It's all about trade-offs. Very much so. Yeah, let's go back to the other questions. I think we asked all the questions. No, we didn't. Oh, yeah, because we were talking heat. How about mech stability? We've learned a lot about this already, just playing the game, which is pretty cool. And I wasn't paying particular attention to the tutorials anyway, so still I have a lot to learn, I'm sure. But yeah. Yeah, stability is a smart thing for a commander to understand, boss. Getting pummeled by weapon fire is a good way for a mech to become destabilized. Walking over rough terrain doesn't help much either. Destabilized mechs can sprint in combat, and they're vulnerable to falling if hit hard enough while in that state. Okay, that's something I want to use against my enemies. Tell me about how to make my battle mechs less vulnerable to weapon fire. Well, it's going to tell me it's armor, isn't it? There's a few ways I can think of. Evasion, cover, and bracing. Yeah, I think I know about those. Evasion, short form version is, the farther a unit goes, the more evasive it becomes. I think I'm okay with those. Actually, I shouldn't assume that. Let's see. When you order a mech to move in combat, note the number of angled chevrons. That's the little things. I thought chevrons were only this, but apparently you can face them anywhere. Your command software assigns it. The more chevrons that are displayed, the harder it'll be to hit. Same for the enemy. Sensor locking an enemy, oh, that's important, removes 2 of its evasion chevrons and makes it easier to hit. Same goes for your units, so be careful. Yeah, that's why we were getting sensor locked and all that sort of stuff, and that was a bad thing. What about cover? Battle mechs are kind of big, aren't they? Yep, they're big and scary and dangerous, and they're harder to hit standing in forests and other terrain features. Standing behind buildings or hills is good too. If the enemy can't see you, they're gonna have a hard time hitting you. It's all about line of sight. Think about it. Think about it all the time. Your enemy is, I guarantee it, if they can see you, a little red eyeball will appear above them in your command software. Thank you for telling me what that is. Thank you very much. You're amazing, Yang. So, Mastiff taught me to brace my mech, but that doesn't make it harder to hit. Nope, but it does reduce damage. Range damage, I think, from front and sides. Let's see. No, bracing your mech won't make it harder to hit, but it should buffer some of the damage you'll take by half or so. So, think about it, eh? Yep. Depends on what your mech is doing, but it's basically a defense. It's not something I remember from any of the mech games that I played, because you don't really have that. But I think that's just a feature because of the turn-based combat. You kind of need that on turn-based combat. That's cool. If you brace, like, you protect sensitive parts and all this sort of stuff, that makes sense. Or just, actually, you're just preparing yourself to sort of deflect things and all that. Not so much as being hard to hit, but as in taking the hit. Yeah, because you're bracing. That's right. You just take the hit. Unless, of course, it's laser, in which case it doesn't really matter. But it's just a gameplay mechanic, which I can totally understand. Okay, so we got that. It's pretty cool. We got all the things. That's enough for now. Thank you, Yang. Oh, no, tell me a little bit more about yourself. How'd you wind up with this crew? Oh, that's a long story, boss. Shortest version I can give you. I signed on after I served my term in the Third Succession War, fighting for the Capellan Confederation. Let's see, so we read about this one. And the Capellan Confederation is one of the 5 successor states of the Star League, located at Rimord of Terra. Ruled by House Liao, the Confederation is the smallest and newest of the successor states, and often the loser in conflicts against the other powers of the Inner Sphere. If you want to know more, you can, he says, you can ask whatever you want, otherwise let's go back to talking shop. Yeah, where are you originally from? Bryant, in the Confederation. You may have heard of our claim to fame, the Crowley lizard cow? What? An edible reptile indigenous to the planet Bryant. The meat of the Crowley lizard cow is considered a delicacy, and it is one of Bryant's few planetary exports. No? Well, trust me, they're delicious, he says. Anyway, as the story goes, Bryant was a really nice place once, a tourist spot, big with hikers and fishing enthusiasts, pale blue skies, emerald green seas, and a booming agricultural business. You know, the works. I never knew it that way, though. Stefan Amaris got it a couple centuries before I was born, and, well, that was that. Can I just say, one of my favorite series, science fiction series, is called Planets. It's animation. It's Japanese. I don't remember who the studio was. Madhouse? No, I don't remember. But Planets, look it up. It's pretty awesome. And there's one episode. It's so cool, though. It's so cool. So there's this one episode where they meet. It's early on. It's not a spoiler or anything. But they meet this person that was born in the moon. And it's not as science fiction-y as this. So it's like 50 years into the future, or actually less than that. But humanity already has a colony in the moon, and there's this girl there who has been born. It's the first human to have been born in the moon, and she can't ever come back to Earth. That's one of the problems of space people. Martians, for example, humans that are born in Mars and grow up in Mars, more importantly, can never come to Earth because their bodies, or at least it's theorized, and I've read a little bit into that. But the problem is the way we grow, we adapt ourselves to our the gravity here on Earth. So she's really tall. She's like 12 years old, but she's tall because Moon is very low gravity, and her heart can't sustain her own blood pressure here on Earth, and her lungs would collapse, and it'd be all sorts of bad things for her. If she ever came to Earth. So it's what the episode deals with, and this is a side thing, but I'll come back to it in a little bit. But what the episode deals with is her impossibility of ever going to Earth. And one of the things that marked me the most about that episode is how it's so awesome. It's so cool. It's how she sees the moon. And if you have seen the episode, if you've seen the series, then you know it's cool. I'm sure you know it's cool. Otherwise, you can't know. But it's how she sees the moon as beautiful and has her home and as something that she really finds beautiful. And that's why it reminded me of that. Tourist spot, big hikers, fishing enthusiasts, pale blue skies, emerald green seas, and a blooming agricultural business. And that sounds beautiful, or it should sound beautiful to a lot of us, humans and Terrans, as it were. But for somebody who is a lunar person, it's not necessarily the same thing. At least that's the proposition of that episode, and that is so cool. But yeah, in science fiction you don't often do that because it's meant to be relatable. And in that episode, they had to spend a whole episode just about that theme, just to bring it across. And I've spent like a couple of minutes talking about it. But it's a really cool notion, and if you can look it up, go and check it out, because it's a pretty amazing series. Anyway, so yeah, let's see. As the story goes, Bryant used to have these enormous orbital mirrors. Storm inhibitors, they call them. The Star League put them in place when Amaris took the system in his civil war. He had his troops use them for target practice. Oh, yeah, he's a very smart person, I guess. Without those mirrors, Bryant reverted to its natural state, a miserable little ball of wind-blown dirt, actively hostile to human life. By the time I came along, that's probably solar storms then. Yeah, makes sense. By the time I came along, the only place where people could live in relative safety, in relative safety, were the planet's poles. Of course, you can't fit a planet's entire population into a handful of cities at its poles. There isn't enough space, no matter how far down you dig or how tall you build. A lot of people, mostly poor, died in the early days. There's still a lot of overcrowding in Bryant's cities even now. Yep. Although it is surprisingly small, the amount of space all humans would take. If you look up how many people would it take to fill the Grand Canyon, it would take like a lot more people than exist. It's like just a little mountain of people, all the 7 or 8 billion people that exist. And speaking of which, of all the people that have ever existed, I think 89% are alive. So think on that. That's a pretty amazing statistic. That's my childhood home in a nutshell, he says. Way too many people jammed into a tiny claustrophobic space with nowhere to go but off planet. I cleared out of there as fast as I could and never looked back. Gotta admit though, I do miss the taste of lizard cow. Well, if they export it, you can just buy it. Hopefully one day, man. Hopefully one day. Tell me about your time in the military. Who'd you serve with? The second... what is that? ST? Sergeant? Yeah. Second Sergeant Eve Lancers, 1st Battalion under Major Ling. We saw more action than most. The arm is a souvenir of... oh, yeah. The arm is a souvenir of my time in the service. I lost the original back in 3010 on St. Loris. You know, when we first arrived at St. Loris, I loved the place. It's an agricultural world. Sort of a breadbasket for the neighboring systems. Green fields, rolling hills, you get the picture. We just walked out of hell in Kittery. Kittery? It's an interesting name. The fat rats drove us out in 05 with our tails between our legs, so it looked like paradise to us. I remember kicking back in the Mack Bay, my feet propped up on an engine block, sipping on a sniffer of Ambergrist vermouth. Not a bad way to spend a sunny afternoon. Also, let me just comment on how in a lot of science fiction that deals with many worlds being population, there's a complete overlook of just how varied a single planet can be. It's always a winter world. It's a spring world. It's a world where everyone reads. It's a world where everyone just does agriculture. And it's so weird because it will never be like that. Even if you specialize the specific world just for agriculture, you still need to farm the specific parts of the land that it have, and there'll be always people going out and do their own thing. Because that's what happened with our world. But it's just... it would never work like that. I guess on a short scale it would, but you wouldn't populate the whole thing and just have like millions and millions of people all over the planet just doing agriculture. They would be fed up. They'd just, oh, you know what? I don't like cows. I'm just gonna make games. Anyway, turned out the Federation Sons weren't done with us yet. We were barely a month into our deployment when they sent the SETI Hussars to burn us out. I'm sure that there were some strategic reasons for House Davlon to want St. Loris, but it sure felt personal to me. Long story short, one of their scouts managed to slip through our perimeter and hit my Mack Bay. I was tinkering around in a Centurion's custom-made rumble seat at the time. Being surrounded by all that armor is the only reason I made it out alive. Still, I didn't make it out unscathed. I lost 2 of my favorite assistants and my own right arm, and I've got this ugly thing grafted onto me as a reminder. It's not ugly, man. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you don't like it, I like it. If you don't like it, I like it, you know? I like your glasses. I like your arm. And yet, here I am, doing mercenary work for a living. Some people never learn, eh? Well, I guess. Why'd you leave the Capellan Confederation? After my tour of duty was up, you mean? I don't know. Just time for a change. Besides, the place wasn't for me anymore. In a way, it never really was. I learned a lot from my time in the service. Got a first-hand view of the elitist bullshit that saturates Capellan culture, how it rewards highborn idiots at the common people's expense. Speaking as a thoroughly common man, that didn't sit right with me. When my tour was over, I walked away and never looked back. Oh, it's an option, yeah. You'll never really get away from the aristocracy, Yang. Hell, I was born as a noble. Let's go with that. Yeah, but you're a competent noble, and you aren't afraid to get your hands dirty. At the end of the day, that's all I really care about. I wonder how many times I've watched talented engineers get passed over for promotions so some idiot with a title could advance. Too many to count. Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you walked away. You've brought my mech back from the brink more than once. Heh. Way more than once, if memory serves. Still, I appreciate the kind words. And for what it's worth, I'm happy to be here with this crew. Going career military would have been an enormous mistake. Well, in your position, I probably would have done the same. Let's talk about something else. Yeah, I definitely would have done the same. Judging by the character I'm trying to build. But I gotta get back to it. Talk to you later. Yeah. Yeah? See you later. Well, I'm gonna be looking at my mechs off camera. And seeing what weapons are and all that sort of stuff. And I will see you in the next episode, because we're out of time for the day. So I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been BattleTech. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.